Hi everyone, it's Shar. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Apologies because I do know this video is going up one day late, and my only excuse is that I was in a really bad mood yesterday, and you would have been able to tell that I was in a bad mood, and I don't want to have my videos have that kind of energy. So instead, we're recording on this, I was gonna say beautiful Monday morning. It's not. It's cloudy and gray, but I'm here with the conclusion to my Darcy Coates reading experience. Of course, I'll continue to read Darcy Coates, but last year in 2023, in case you're new here, I embarked on a journey to complete Darcy Coates' entire backlist. With the exception of one or two DNFs, I pretty much completed Darcy Coates' backlist, and so I want to finish off this series with giving you a beginner's guide to Darcy Coates. I'm going to give you some recommendations for books that I think that you should start with, especially if you're wanting to get into Darcy Coates. She has a reputation for having kind of like cozy horrors, and while her horrors definitely can have some cozy elements, I will tell you they are scary. Not every Darcy Coates book is a cozy horror. I could talk on and on and on about this, but let's just jump into the recommendation. If you are someone who loves atmosphere and you're looking for a haunted house story, Darcy Coates has what feels like a million different haunted house stories, and they all have a very similar cover. But the book that I'm going to recommend for you is The Carol Haunt. I was almost going to say who it's by. Obviously, it's Darcy Coates. So The Carol Haunt is a paranormal investigation. In this story, we open up with our main female character who does ghost tours for this notorious house. And this house has a lot of history, specifically around serial killers, mass murder, and just a lot of tragedy within the home. And one day, a very wealthy person approaches her while on the tour and says, "I run a paranormal investigation company. Our team really wants to come into this home and do an investigation, but the owners have never allowed us to. However, I know that you have a very special relationship with the owners. Could you please convince them to let us do an investigation? We will pay anything, and in exchange for you helping us, you can join us in the paranormal investigation." And as a tour guide, she's always experienced very, very creepy things in the home. She's a bit of a medium herself in that she does hear the spirits, and she has a deeper connection to them in terms of being able to sense them. So she agrees. She manages to get the paranormal investigation team into the home to do their investigation. However, there's a storm, a really, really bad storm, and this house is on a cliff in the seaside, very isolated. So when the storm rolls in, they go recognizing that they will be stuck there until the storm passes. They go in, and of course, terrifying things happen. I would say it even leans into campy at times. There certainly are goofy scenes in there, and I think that if you're going to pick this book up, you should go in expecting that, but the horror definitely outweighs the goofiness. The scenes are absolutely terrifying. There's really horrendous things happening, and these spirits are not like, "Boo, I'm gonna scare you." They're like, "I'm actually gonna hurt you, and you're gonna become a spirit with me." And the team is fighting for their lives while doing this investigation. There's also a bit of a murder mystery element to it, and of all of Darcy Coates' haunted house stories, I think that this one is particularly strong and therefore a good entry point if you're looking to get into Darcy Coates. Now, this next recommendation is for those of you who are actually looking for cozy horror. My recommendation for a cozy horror from Darcy Coates is going to be The Whispering Dead. The Whispering Dead follows a woman. We open up in a high action scene because she is running for her life, except she has amnesia. She doesn't know what she's running from. She doesn't know why she's running. She just knows that she's being chased, and she knows that she cannot get caught. She ends up running to this parish, and this parish offers her refuge. He allows her to stay in an abandoned cottage within his cemetery and agrees to protect her from the people that she is running from. When our girl goes to the cottage, she feels right at home. She has no issues being in a graveyard, but she realizes that she can hear people talking outside of her cottage, and there's someone like banging at her door, but she knows no one is there. She realizes very quickly she can speak to spirits, or rather, spirits can speak to her with limited communication. She can communicate with them, she can see them, but she cannot actually officially hear them. She can just hear kind of whispers, hence the Whispering Death. This entire thing, I would say, centers more around a mystery surrounding a ghost because there are terrible things happening, but obviously the ghost that is speaking to our main female character is looking for assistance. She has an unresolved thing that happened prior to her death, and she is looking to resolve that issue. So our main female character set out to solve this. And there's also some thriller aspects in this story a little bit later on. I think this is perfect for those of you who are looking for a cozy horror, especially if you're looking for something that has really strong friendships and relationships, a bit of a mystery plot, some thriller elements, and you enjoy the paranormal aspects of ghosts. This is also a series, which in my opinion is a pretty good series, so it's a great place to get started, especially if you're looking to get into a series. This one is for the people who love cozy romances, but want their romances with a little bit of bite, a bit of darkness, a bit of grittiness. While I certainly wouldn't describe this book as a romance, the romantic subplot is pretty significant in this story, and that is Voices in the Snow. This is also a series by Darcy Coates. It's called the Black Winter series, and this is book 1. This book opens up with our main female character who is driving for her life, essentially. She is trying to pick up her sister and her aunt because something has happened. No one in the world knows what happened, but there's mass panic. They know that they have to get away, and they have to get away quick. Unfortunately for our main female character, she gets into a car accident on the way to pick up her aunt, and she ends up crashing into the woods where she's in danger. But luckily for her, this man saves her, and she just wakes up with her last memory being in a car accident, and she wakes up in this strange man's house, and obviously she's terrified, but he insists that she cannot leave because she does not know what is actually going on in the outside world. Every time I give this premise or hear this premise, I think of 10 Cloverfield Lane, which, by the way, is such a scary fucking movie, like literally horrifying. So you can imagine the horror that our main female character is feeling. Without spoilers here. Our main female character is absolutely horrified, but our hero does in fact have good intentions. This is cozy caretaking, sweet romance set in the apocalypse. And recently, Darcy Coates has been dipping her toes a little bit more into the thriller genre. So I have a recommendation for those of you who prefer thrillers but still want to get into Darcy Coates. My recommendation, even though she has quite a few books now that could be considered thrillers, is going to be Hunted. Hunted is, for me, such an interesting thriller, especially because of the ending and where it goes. And while it does have moments that make me uncomfortable in terms of the characterization, you can hear my full thoughts about the elements of the story that made me uncomfortable. I think that there's more nuanced conversations to be had, but I still really enjoyed this book. Hunted follows the story of Eileen, and Eileen is going on a kind of finding herself journey after graduating. She really feels like she spent her whole life bending to the will of others, and she wants to find her own personal strength. So she's hiking through some woods, and while she's in the woods, she realizes that something is hunting her down, and it becomes a story of survival for her life in chapter 1, because in chapter 2 we switch points of view to Eileen's friends and family who are frantic because she is missing, and the police are pretty much certain that Eileen has died because no one could survive in the woods that long. However, her brother and Eileen's friends are not willing to accept that as a narrative. They very much believe that Eileen could still be alive, and if not, at the very least they want to recover her body. So they enter the woods themselves, and this becomes again a story of survival, a story of trying to find Eileen. But these people are being hunted by the very thing that Eileen was being hunted by, so it very much is a survival story. And I would say if you enjoy horror and like body horror, Darcy Coates definitely brings that in here. And as I've mentioned, the ending of this is particularly interesting, especially what exactly was going on and why it was going on. Alternatively, you can also pick up Dead of Winter, but I find Dead of Winter to be a pretty generic thriller where it's a fun mystery following an and then there were none kind of story, but the characters don't have any brain cells, which is why I'm recommending you Hunted instead of Dead of Winter. And finally, this is for my people who love historical romances, but again, want something a little bit darker, but perhaps where the darkness isn't the tension in the relationship between the characters. The darkness is what exactly is happening in this house. So this is Darcy's only historical book in terms of how we would traditionally think of historical. Yes, some of these books are set in like the 70s or the 80s, and technically that's historical, but this one's historical in like, we're either in the Victorian era or the Regency, we're at some point there. And our main female character is in a situation where she has been entered into an arranged marriage, I think because her father has like debts or something like that that they have to pay off. She loves her father very much, so she agrees to enter into this marriage with this man. I'm forgetting his name, but I think his first name is Joseph, and he comes from a very wealthy family, but he obviously feels guilty about something, and they enter their arranged marriage. He settles the debts for her and then takes her to his ancestral home where his family lives. However, his family is really fucking weird, like scary. Weird. He is walking around feeling a lot of guilt, and she's like, why is my husband so guilty? What exactly is happening? And maybe this family is cursed, and she married into this family, so now she is dealing with those consequences. Like some of Darcy Coates' other books, this can get a little bit campy. I would read this primarily for the historical romance elements of it. If you're a romantic suspense kind of person, or you like the idea of a romantic horror, of all of Darcy Coates' books, I think this follows the beats of a historical romance or a romance in general the most, which is why I think it's a great place to start off, especially if you're a romance person trying to transition into more horror, or you want more of a blend of the two. This is a great place to start your journey. And so that brings us to the end of this video. Those are the 5 books I think are a great entry point if you're trying to get into Darcy Coates. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or if you also read Darcy Coates and would have different recommendations. I would love to hear them in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!